The brand is called T363. T is the first initial of my name, and 363 is the last three of my prison number. And we wanted to really build something that basically shows men and women that you can change your life and you can do something impactful and amazing. And that's what we're building.
Welcome to There Is No Alternative. I'm Tina Bou-Saba, and today we are joined by Troy Alexander, founder of T363 Skin. Troy has an incredible personal story of adversity, resilience, and heart. He is building a purpose-driven brand inspired by his own personal transformation. This is a powerful story, and we're so fortunate to have Troy join us today. Hi, Troy.
Hi, Tina. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
Doing fucking amazing.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Okay. So first off, we're going to do a little warm-up question. What is your hype song? You're going into a big meeting. Like, what are you listening to?
Kings of Leon, the Comeback Kid.
Okay, that's a good one. I like it. That's really good. Okay, so let's get going. Can you tell us about T363 Skin? What is it? Tell us about the brand.
Yes, so T363 Skin is a purpose-driven brand that we're looking to redefine how men show up with intention. So the brand is called T363. T is the first initial of my name, and 363 is the last three of my prison number. And we wanted to really build something that basically shows men and women that you can change your life and you can do something impactful and amazing. And that's what we're building.
Wow. So how did you decide to go down this path of starting a skincare brand?
Well, as you know, you've known me for some time. I've been on this quest and this journey to really try to disrupt the category. I really fundamentally believe I think men don't care about taking care of themselves. I think men don't really understand the importance of taking care of themselves. And so I had another brand and going through the whole positioning. It was called Troy Skincare.
Yeah.
And I was going to launch. I had an incredible business partner and we were building this out. And COVID happened. And then after COVID happened, the business partnership started to waver. And one day she said, I don't really care about the business anymore. And that really kind of affected me and hurt me because we had put our time and our energy in really trying to build something remarkable. And then I had a trademark issue. And the trademark issue, there was a guy that had Troy lifestyle, and it was just a series of things. And so I went through that journey, had to pay my business partner out to buy her out. And then I had a trademark issue. And so that delayed a lot of things that I don't share or talk about. But thank you for giving me this platform to share. Then going through the trademark issue, hiring a private detective. It was a shit show, but it was a great, beautiful lesson. Learned so much about resilience, just fighting for what you believe in your dream. And then one day I was in the shower and I just prayed to God and I said, God, do I keep going on with this or do I stop? And was at my friend's house and was looking at some coffee table books. And then I saw a series of numbers and I went in the shower and I prayed and God said, use your prison number. And that's how I came up with it.
If you're comfortable sharing, Troy,
Yeah.
can you go back to the beginning? Because your experience in prison is such a part of your brand and it is so personal in a way that I think is incredibly unique. Can you share about that experience and how, you got from there to here?
Yeah, I think, I didn't grow up in any impoverished neighborhood. My dad was a big official in the government and I just got in a fight, was fighting with a friend. We were young and dumb and we were gambling, in his parents' basement. And it just got, it was just a mess. We were young and just dumb. But I will say prison was the greatest thing that happened to me. That was my HBS. That was my Columbia Business School. That was my business school because I really got a true understanding of the pain and the pressures that men go through.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And I began to really see, because though everyone tells you, you from a different socioeconomic level in prison, there's some wealthy people in prison too, right?
Uh-huh.
And there's some white people in prison who come from means, black people who come from means. So it's not what they tell you. And so you begin to see the pain in the men's eyes that they realize they made a mistake. And I think for me, what changed my life was I journaled every day what my eyes saw. And so I have my journals that I still have when I was in prison, that one day I would turn them into something.
Uh-huh.
But what changed my life was one day I was walking down the halls, going back to my cell, and a correctional officer said something to me that really stopped me in my tracks. And she said to me, she said, you don't belong here. And I'm like, in my head, because I couldn't fathom what she was saying, I was like, what are you talking about, lady? In my head, I didn't say that to her because she's a correctional officer.
Mhm.
And she said, God has a purpose for you. And I
Mm.
held on to those words for dear life. And that is what truly got me through. And then I had angels in there that said to me, you can do something in your life. It may take you years, but you will be successful. You have this light, you have this energy, you have all these things. And so that is what kept me going. And so through the process and the pain and all the things I've endured, I'm like, if I made it out of prison with murderers, rapers, killers, you name it, I can build this and I can do something great in my life.
That's, I mean, so powerful. You have an amazing, amazing energy, Troy. That's something
Thank you.
I've always really appreciated about you. Okay, so that was 2 years, right? And so, what did you do immediately afterward?
Yeah. Again, as I shared, there was nothing but angels that helped me, that
Yeah.
ushered me through that process. So when I got out, I was very fortunate to go back to a two-parent household. My mom was a dietitian, my dad was a big official in the government. Went back to a two-parent household.
Mhm.
I had food, I had all the things that you need.
Yeah.
So I wasn't stuck or left like a lot of people who come out of prison. And so I had to pay restitution to the guy that I got in a fight with. And so one day I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So I end up meeting an old buddy of mine who was a little older than I am, not in that situation that I went through, but he was an older buddy. And he was like, hey, I'm working at this company. He was like, maybe you can get an application and get a job. And so when I got out of prison, through happenstance, there was nothing on the application that said, have you ever been convicted of a felony? Or have you ever gone to jail? Again, angels. And I filled out the application. I got a job, and I used to pick up trash when I got out of prison because I had to pay the restitution. So I
Mhm.
was the best trash picker you will ever know. And I had indefinite probation because I had a violent crime, and I had indefinite probation. And so I couldn't leave the state of Virginia. I had to go to the piss test. I had to do all those things in the penal system.
Mm.
And I excelled so well, went back to college, all of the things. And so they couldn't say anything to me. So they kept dropping. They're like, wow, like, you're not getting in trouble. No. So I
Mhm.
kept paying the money, paying the money, paying the money. And eventually I got off indefinite probation. And then I started to, work some other jobs, temp services, and do all that stuff, because I always realized that when I was in prison, they told me that you can do something. You are one that can do something. So keep
Yeah.
climbing, keep climbing. So I did a lot of odd jobs. And
Mhm.
then finally one day I was sitting next to this gentleman during September 11th at the Red Cross Center. And he had said to me, he used to be an old executive at Pepsi Cola. And he said, you should move to New York and you should go back to school and live in New York because New York fits your energy. And that's how it all happened. So it was nothing but angels. So I truly
Yeah.
believe in people come in your life to get you or help you get to where you got to get to.
I agree with you. So you get to New York
Hmm.
and somehow you found your way to the beauty and luxury industry.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah. So my first job when I was in New York, I interned at MTV. So I used to write copy for the LED board on the side of in Times
Oh,
Square.
wow. Okay.
And so I used to write copy. So unbeknownst to me, not knowing that I was a journalist, but I was a writer.
Yeah.
And then I just started networking and I started meeting some really incredible women. My father used to always tell me something when I was growing up. He said, son, women are more apt to help you succeed than men
Mm.
because you have a light and they have to dim their light around you because you have this energy. And so I started meeting some really incredible women in New York, and they were like, "Hey, you should try this. You should try this." So I started writing at Weight Watchers, teaching men how to dress once they lost weight.
Huh?
And then a friend of mine was like, "Hey, you should write for Details magazine," which is now defunct. And then another friend was like, "Hey, you should write for Forbes," and then New York Times. And that's how I got into it. So again, it goes back to what I said. When I got out, there were nothing but angels that helped
Mm.
usher me to where I'm at.
Did you always have an eye for, like, fashion and style? Like, because I mean, writing at the time, like, Details was no joke.
Yeah. Yeah, I did because growing up, my mom was very artistic and stylish. And so
Mhm.
when I was a young kid, she would allow me to go to the stores and pick out the clothes that I wanted. And so I learned how to, color coordinate. I learned how to
Wow.
match. I learned how to do all of those things. And so I had that eye of style and elegance as a young kid because my dad was in the military. So we traveled all around the world as a kid. So I was
Okay,
able to
yeah,
see so much and observe, much.
yeah, yeah. Any particular like, on that point, any particular favorite places that you visited?
I mean, I love Seoul, Korea. I mean, unbeknownst to me now, that Seoul is the mecca for skincare. I loved Seoul when I was growing up. I loved Seoul.
Wow.
Seoul was a really incredible place, and now, it is what it is now. So it's full
Mhm.
circle.
Exactly, exactly. So, when did you decide that beauty in general and skincare specifically was the direction that you wanted to go in to build your business? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, so when I was a fashion writer, I always would go to the shows, Paris, Milan, blah blah blah, all of that.
Wow.
And I would always see that that straight men didn't know how to dress. And so I always paid attention to that. And then I had an opportunity to consult for Simrise. And so I sat on their, at one time, they had this beauty council, and I sat on their beauty council, right? And so that was my true introduction to beauty. Unbeknownst, I liked it and I cared about it because when I was
Mhm.
writing, I had the opportunity to write for Yahoo Beauty. And that's the time when Bobby Brown was the CEO. And so I was writing for Yahoo Beauty and really paying attention to the beauty world and fashion because it's all combined and
Yeah,
connected.
definitely.
And once I started really diving into Simrise and being on the council, I was like, wow, this is something. And then remembering what my mom was always instilling in me, how to look presentable, how to look good, how to take care of your skin. And that was the whole connection and the thread that I said, you know what? Let's go on this journey. And then I started talking to a couple of friends, fast forward now, he was the dermatologist behind Rhodes. So Basali.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I knew him when he had just got out of derm school. And so I sat with him in his office when he was just like, a nobody, a fresh little derm, but now
Yeah.
he's a big derm now, and we're still good friends. But I sat with him and I said, I have this idea that I want to launch a men's skincare company. And he was the first guy that said, Troy, you can do it. It may take you years, it may take you a
Mhm.
long time, and people may not understand it, but you can do it. So he was the first guy who now exited with Ron Robinson and was a derm. So he was my
Yeah.
first friend who told me in New York City, you could do it, but it may take years.
Mhm, mhm. So another one of the angels
The
on the
angels.
journey, right?
Exactly.
So cool. And how did you get connected to him?
So I got connected to him just being out and about, because I was in
Wow.
journalism and fashion.
Okay.
So the cool kids partying in
Yeah.
New York, you know that vibe.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That is very, very cool. I definitely feel like there's a pretty powerful theme in your story of, as you say, angels and like, but I'm sure that I mean, you're out working hard every day and making those connections, right? And that's something I think you're really good at.
Thank you.
Okay. So, like now you're starting to think about the skincare brand. I agree with you. Building a brand takes a long, long time. So, like, around when was this that you said, okay, I'm going to start working on a skincare brand?
Yeah. So this was about 2019.
Okay. Got it.
2019. And then as I told you earlier in the story, the trademark issue,
Yeah.
all of that. So yes.
Yeah. Well, I think that for many brands, like that was just such a challenging time because the pandemic just like totally threw, of course, threw everything into disarray. And so, there's always like a timing element to these things
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
really tricky. I mean, I felt that too in my business. It was like a huge detour from the path that I had thought I was going to be on in 2020. Okay. So, how have you thought, like maybe on the product side, like how did you approach product development? What do what's the direction that you're going in there? Would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I've always, just for me, I put
Yeah.
myself in I'm a man, so I put myself in our shoes and I realized that we want it simple.
Mhm.
So it's not this is not revolutionary or rocket science. We want it simple, right? And I remember during COVID, I was reading the autobiography of Estee Lauder, and she was talking about, she said, I am a woman. I can sell to a woman because I am a woman. And I feel the
Mhm.
same way. I am a man. I can sell to men. And
Mhm.
so our products is the McDonald's model. When they started with 4 products. And that's all I feel men need. We don't need 12 products. And all of these brands that want to do that, kudos to them, but
Yeah.
let's just keep it simple and clean for men. And so, that's what we're looking to do. And that's what our assortment is that.
Mhm. Yep. And now have you launched yet, or when is that coming?
Yeah, so what we did do over the summer, we just did a test with our moisturizer because we have one product right now.
Okay.
All the rest of the products are already built out, but we just wanted to test. So we tested, we sold very well just through my network,
Yeah.
SMS, texting, getting people to reshare it. And so we sold very
Totally.
well.
That's
And
great.
then um, I had this idea. And I said, what do we need to do to not be the same? Because
Mhm.
when you think about, like, so there's this guy that I listen to, and his name is Earl Nightingale. And I listen to a lot of dead guys like Earl Nightingale, Jim Rome, Bob Proctor, all of those kind of guys. And Earl Nightingale said, is a talk that he speaks about. It's called The Strangest Secret. And in The Strangest Secret, he says everything is the same, same, same. And so when I think of the category of beauty, you and I
Mhm.
have had a conversation, it's all the same. The men's brands are trying to be like women's brands, all these offerings, all of these things, and they're following the same thing. And so I had this idea that we're launching this campaign to really break through the noise. And I kind of shared it with you, but we won't talk about it yet because it doesn't launch until
Mhm.
December 1st.
Mhm.
And we fundamentally believe, because I pressure tested it. And again, since prison, so I bring everyone back, some of my greatest ideas come from when I'm in the shower. Because when I was in prison, that was the freedom that we had to just take a shower. And I always thought about my life and I dreamed. And so I apply the same methods to how I move through life. And so this idea came to me in the shower. I pressure tested it with my mentor, the guy Eric Malka, who started Artist Shaving. We were taking a walk in Miami and I pressure tested it with him. And he said, this is it. He said, it's a hard pill or a hard mountain to stand on to get men to take care of their skin. He said, we discovered that when we built Artist
Mhm.
Shaving. And he said, in order to crack this, the way you're thinking is how to crack it.
Mhm, mhm.
And
Okay. Well, that'll be exciting, very exciting to see. So, but okay, another thing you mentioned that I'm like so interested in is you mentioned Eric, who, yes, for those who maybe don't know, founder of The Art of Shaving, which I think P&G acquired. Is that right? Yeah.
correct.
Okay. So for a lot of money.
Yeah, a
So,
lot of money.
right, a lot of money. Okay. So phenomenally successful guy. How did you get connected to him?
Yeah. So again, so I was in California, in Napa Valley, I believe, and there was this conference. I would the one thing that when I listen to these tapes like Bob Proctor, Jim Rome, all these
Yeah.
guys, they always say put yourself in the room because you never know who you're gonna meet.
Such great advice.
And so I was there, and a good friend of mine, Dorian, who I believe you know,
Yes.
yes, from
Yes.
Undefined Beauty.
Yes. Oh, she's terrific.
She's
Yes,
terrific. You guys went to HBS. You guys are sisters. And
exactly.
she said to me, she said, you should go up and meet this guy. His name is Eric, and he started Artist Shaving. I was like, all right,
Wow.
cool, whatever,
Okay,
cool.
yeah.
So I went up to him, met him, shook his hand, started chatting him at the conference. And then fast forward, I've gone to his son's bar mitzvah. I vacationed with them in Europe. You know, I go to his house. Like we have connected. We take walks when I'm in Miami together. Like I'm in Miami on Thursday and we're having dinner. So we've built a
Wow.
brotherhood, we've built a friendship and a love for one another. And I told
Wow.
him I don't want him to ever invest in me. I just want his friendship.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm sure he has some great advice on
Absolutely.
men. So like share a few things with us. Like what are the, the secrets
Yeah.
of addressing this market?
So he said to me, in all due respect and to your audience, he said, Troy, men don't give a shit because we don't have to. And he said,
Mm,
that is a hill you don't want to stake your knife on. And he
mhm.
said, everyone has been trying to crack it. He said, two things men care about. They care about the hair and they care about shaving. Those are the two. That's it.
Mhm.
He said, that is it. And he
Mhm.
said, you need to really think differently about how to tackle that category because no one has been able to do it. But with our new strategy and campaign, now he feels that I can crack it.
That's
And
great.
so that's what, if we're going the same traditional way, following a woman's brand and doing how a woman does it is not going to work.
Right.
If you look at a lot of the and I'm sure there's some guys who are doing well. I don't know them, but I know of them
Mhm.
who are moving the needle inch by inch, which is great. And I applaud them. I applaud them. But I take myself, if I wasn't doing this, I can honestly tell you, Tina, no one is talking to me about taking care of my skin.
Hmm. Mhm. Mhm. That's really interesting. What would you be doing if you weren't doing this? I can't help but ask when you say that.
I probably would be doing something, working for someone in marketing, a marketing, some fashion, art, something like that.
But I don't would you be working for someone? I feel like you're an extremely entrepreneurial person. So I
Yeah.
get the marketing piece of it, but I'm going to push back on the working for someone piece
Yeah.
of it. I don't know about
I was
that.
being kind. No, I wouldn't be working with someone. I would be figuring it out, my dear.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because I think like my perception, right, is I feel like you have this really like you have vision, you really have vision. And so I feel like you are bringing this kind of like media type of lens to your brand. And then, then you layer on your own personal story. I think it's a really, really powerful combination.
It is. Thank you very much for saying that because you get me by just saying that. Many people don't get me, and I think, you and I have had our offline. This category needs to be disrupted and someone must do it. And I believe that I can do it. And I'm not being egotistical, no arrogance. I believe fundamentally with the right players, the right positioning, we can do it.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. Well, look, I mean, I think that's something that we're really exploring and honoring is that like that entrepreneurial mindset, right? It's like you
Yeah.
have to we've it's been really fun because I absolutely think like entrepreneurship, building something is so hard. So you definitely have to have that belief, right? In I always say in like the art of the possible.
Like that. I'm going to write that one down. The art of the possible. Wow, that's
Exactly.
dope.
Exactly. I mean, I think that like it's that mindset. I think it's like, super important. Otherwise, yeah, you could go work for someone, right? And do something else, right?
Well, one day I'm going to be worth $4 billion. I'm
I
going to
love
give
it.
it all away before I die. And I'm going to do what you do, invest in founders.
That's great. That's great. Well, you'll be terrific at it. What do you like to do in your free time?
So I like to read. I'm like a book snob
Mm,
now. Right now I'm reading Titan by John D. Rockefeller.
okay.
I want to be a Titan, my darling. I want to be
Yep.
a Titan. So
I love
guess
it.
what? You have to read books to help you get to where you got to get to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely.
And then when I'm not doing that, I do speaking engagements. So I just did a talk at 3C Ventures.
Oh,
So it was this gentleman who created Media Link and he sold it to UTA. And so they had a inaugural salon dinner with CEOs, CROs, and CIOs that I spoke to them about success, significance, my personal
wow.
story, and
Yeah.
how to amplify your life. So any of your listeners, if you're looking for a speaker, I'm your guy.
I love it. I love it. I would definitely endorse that. I think I could totally see. I mean, it's funny. Like, yeah, I could absolutely see that, and I feel like you could be a motivational speaker. I mean, look, you're a very talented person, and that is one of one of many things that you could be working on.
Thank you so
No, it's
much.
great. It's great. Really cool. Okay. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask you one last question. You've already given us a lot of it, but like, what's a piece of advice that you have for someone who may be thinking about taking the leap to start their own business?
Well, that's a great question. Believe in yourself and truly trust your gut and listen to people who have what you want. If the people in your orbit have not built a business or have not jumped out there, you should not be listening to them. I don't care what fancy degrees they have, what schools they've gone to. Most people fail to realize that everything we touch outside of nature has been created by an entrepreneur. So truly, we're all entrepreneurs, but life happens. And so just be careful who you listen to.
I love that. Well, I certainly think, as I said, that one of your superpowers is connecting with people, and you're amazing at it. And the fact that, you've had really, really like impactful relationships along the way, that have gotten you to this point is really, really speaks to the power that you have of making these great, really meaningful connections.
Oh, thank you. I wish you nothing but success with this podcast.
Uh,
I
Thanks,
really think
Troy.
you're on to something with this because this is different. You're on to something with this.
Thank you, Troy. Well, I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. This is awesome.
Thank you. Have a great day, my dear. Bye.
If you liked this episode, find more at cxtinvestments.com and Spotify. And follow me, Tina Bou-Saba, on LinkedIn.